Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-Offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Post-Match Raw. I'm your host, Guy Drinkle. It's a decent day, lads. It really is. I mean, Dave, we usually go through the starting 11 and stuff like that, but let's not start there. We come into this game against a difficult Brighton side, and we see Arsenal lose the early kickoff. We see Man City struggling early on against Bournemouth. We're kind of fighting for our lives out there. It ended up being such a perfect day, but it was a journey to get to that result.
It was, but they're a really good team, so it was never going to be just a simple matter of us turning up and winning. And it felt like in the first half, our team had the expectation that they could just turn up and win. And we got absolutely battered through the midfield. They were just physically abusing us in midfield, despite the fact that both their midfielders are quite small. They were just more aggressive, more energetic than ours. We didn't play well at all. We go behind to their credit, a really good strike. There was a lot of fortune into how it got to Kadioglu, but the strike is great. And we were all a little bit kind of, spinning in circles at halftime. And like you said, it had been a great day for us to that point because Arsenal had lost, City were losing, and you look at it and thinking, right, we've got a chance not just to go top here, but to go 7 points clear of Arsenal. We've got a really tough game next weekend away to Chelsea, potentially meaning a 10-point gap going into the international break. And yet we came out putting a really flat first half. But I think huge credit has to go to Joe Gomez, who came on at half-time and put in a brilliant second-half performance. Curtis Jones, when he came on, I thought he made a massive impact. Obviously, we'll talk about him and his impact on the second goal. But I thought the key moment in the game was when Szoboszlai left Ayari in an absolute heap on the ground. Ayari had been the best player on the pitch, for my money, and Szoboszlai just chopped him down. And from then to when he went off, he had no impact, and we finally got a foothold in the midfield and got ourselves going into the game. And look, there's a huge element of fortune for the goal that gets us level, but the winner's an absolute stunner. We go on and win the game, City go on and lose, and just because cake is nice and icing on the cake is nice, but the cherry on the cake, of course, is that Everton have lost to Southampton. So we get Arsenal losing, City losing, and Everton losing, all while we win. It is the perfect day to be a Red.
Yeah, absolutely is. Absolutely is. More coming to you. Your thoughts on the weekend so far. We obviously have United. That could add extra funny, although it's against Chelsea, so it's never the greatest. But there is, as Dave says, there's more fruit we can add onto this bad boy. But it's been a perfect weekend so far, and considering I don't know how it matches up statistically and all that, but it always used to feel like as soon as Man City dropped points, we never took advantage of that. And Slot's first opportunity, or first big opportunity to do so at the same time as them, and we've done it. It's just a great feeling already.
Yeah, it was delightful to see Arteta and his crazy gang of fans with all their many conspiracy theories about how everyone's against them and how to get them silenced. They had literally nothing to complain about after a convincing loss at the hands of Newcastle. And, we had to capitalise. We couldn't really allow them any glimmer of hope by conceding 3 points or even 2 to Brighton. Easier said than done, though. Brighton are a very strong team. At the same time, we also have City to worry about. And, they were against some tough opposition themselves with Brighton, and the fact that they lost. And, this is a City team that hasn't really looked defensively with it all season. They've looked vulnerable. And, for them to lose today, for Arsenal to lose, it was imperative for us to pick up 3 points and really put a marker down amongst our toughest run of games thus far into the season. But, at the end of the first half, I was thinking, here we go. Is this yet another deja vu moment where we've been here before, rivals drop points and then we don't capitalise? But I thought, look, second half, I'm sure Slot will do something. There will be some tactical tweaks. There might be some substitutions that can change things. And sure enough, that's how it panned out. And to go top of the table with 10 games gone, can't ask for more than that.
Absolutely. Just to go through the league title, just whilst we're here, we're on 25 points. City are on 23. Title rivals Nottingham Forest on 19. Arsenal, the favourites, coming into the season by many, probably myself included, and especially the favourites when Rodri got injured and is out for the entire season, sat on 18 points. I mean, they could fall all the way down to 6th if Villa and Chelsea win tomorrow, which is smashing.
Even if Chelsea draw. If Villa and Chelsea both draw, Arsenal will drop to 6th. And for all the hype around their much vaunted centre-back pairing and Jamie Carragher, writing articles about them, they've conceded 11 league goals this season and we've conceded 6.
All right, isn't it? It's all right. Considering the big injury crisis they had of all of one half of football. It's a funny one. But anyway, we're here to talk about the Liverpool game. And Mo, I'll come to you for the Liverpool team. Probably not too many surprises, really. Just to quickly go through it. Kelleher, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, Tsimikas, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister, Salah, Nunes, Gakpo. Then on our bench, we had Conor Bradley back to fitness after the midweek cup game. Diaz, Endo, Gomez, Yaros, Curtis Jones, Tyler Morton, Yarrell Kwanzaa, and Andy Robertson. I suppose the only question, maybe 2 question mark, was the left-hand side. Obviously, Diaz and Gakpo kind of fighting neck and neck currently for the wing position, whereas Robertson and Tsimikas, basically the entire time, it's always been Robertson's just straight back in, but after a few defensive lapses in recent games, and not the best form, I think he started the season all right, but Tsimikas got the chance in the Premier League. We've obviously got Champions League to come, so it might answer it there as well. But were they the only 2 question marks coming into the game for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought that after Robertson started in midweek, it was very likely that Simi would get the start today. So no surprises when his name appeared in the lineup. And I think with the performance that Gakpo put in midweek, I think he worked his way into the starting lineup. He was exceptional against Brighton away a few days ago. So that was good. I suppose the only other possible question mark might have been whether Curtis may have started. But obviously, Slot went with his first choice midfield, and it was a lineup that I think largely was predictable given what happened in midweek. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with what the lineup was when it was announced.
Yeah, Dave, coming to you for the Brighton side then, and feel free to add anything on the Liverpool one, of course. But they started off with Verbruggen, Veltman, Van Hecke, Igor, Estupiñán and Mitoma on the left, Iari central midfield, Hinchelwood central midfield as well, seeing as he plays every position on the pitch. Kadioglu right midfield, and then Ruta just off Danny Welbeck, and going through their bench quickly. Adingra, Belieber, Enciso, Ferguson, Gruder, Lamptey, Moda, Steele, Vifa. So they had a lot of options to rotate in, even probably more so than us, to be fair, considering the comparative level. Any surprises for you there? I'm guessing Belieber. I know you've been a big fan of him, and he's impressed when I've seen him as well. And you'd think maybe he'd be able to deal physically with someone like Dom Szoboszlai a bit more. But as you said, Iari was probably the one who came in for someone like Belieber, and he was the best player on the pitch for the first half.
Yeah, I was surprised that Belieber didn't start because he's been really good this season, but they've got a lot of good options in midfield, and I think that team was pretty much, other than I would have thought Belieber for Iari, I think that team was pretty much what we were expecting from them. It's a team that's playing obviously very well, come into the game in sixth place. You've got players in form. You've got that left flank reunited with Mitoma and Estupiñán that not last season but the season before was the best left flank in the league. Defensively, it's probably their best defence. Veltman, Van Hecke, Igor and Estupiñán. I think not having Dunk, not having Webster is actually helping them, because I do think individually these are the two best centre-backs they have. Neither of them would be my pick to play for a team that I was supporting or was involved in, but they're playing pretty well together. I thought they did a pretty good job today. We didn't give them enough to do. But, you know, you look through that squad, it's talent everywhere, it's depth everywhere. And I think massive credit has to go to how they've been put together over the last 3-4 years. The work that Tony Bloom and Star Lizard have done on their recruitment. They've taken some big gambles like Jorginho Rutter, who's putting forward a really good season. Smaller gambles like Mitoma, who none of us had heard of before they signed him. And I thought first half he was really good today. Second half, Trent properly got to grips with him. But yeah, there's talent everywhere. It's a good team. They're undeniably a top half team in this league. And I think even in defeat, they can come away taking a lot out of today's game. A lot of positives for Brighton in today's game.
Yeah, and we'll definitely go through quite a lot of them in the first. But Dave, I'll stick with you. There's not really loads of noteworthy stuff. It's just general sloppiness I think we have to discuss. I mean, my first note is basically Trent's very loose with his passing. We have not even a half chance. It's below that. I mean, Szoboszlai nearly put Salah in. The keeper does well as sweep up. Then we have that Darwin nearly sensational solo goal. But other than that, I mean, we could genuinely just go up to their goal. And other than the Darwin bit, it's just generally us not getting the ball under control at all. And I can't remember the possession stat at all. I think it was nearly like 80-20, maybe 75-25, but they were just controlling the game because basically just our incompetence, I'd say.
Yeah, we couldn't complete passes. I mean, like you said, Trent was very, very loose at his passing. All three in midfield were really struggling. Mm-hmm. You know, Gravenberch and McAllister in particular just were not able to influence the game. They were really just overrun by the Brighton midfield. Simple as that. We couldn't get the ball into Szoboszlai in any kind of dangerous area. We couldn't get the ball to Mo. We couldn't get Darwin involved. Cody probably had more of the ball in that first half than the other three combined. It's just that he wasn't able to do anything because Kadioglu was doubling back and helping Veltman. So Cody was really, really struggling in that first half. And when you've got Trent, your midfield three, and Cody all playing really poorly, to be truthful, Like, that's half your team. That's half your outfielders. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot. And the others, the two centre-backs were playing well.
Yeah.
I thought Costas was doing okay. But we couldn't get Dom, Mo, and Darwin involved in the game at all. And that was really hurting us. And you mentioned the Darwin chance. Like, that's all his own work. Everything about that is his own work, from when he flips the ball over the defender's head on the halfway line, uses strength to hold off another defender, drives forward, drives into the box and gets his shot away. That's all him. No one has helped him get there. He's done it by himself. And that was kind of the story of the first half, is that anything we were going to get was going to have to come from individual brilliance, because there was just no cohesion in the team. We were really disjointed. I didn't think we were up for the physical battle. I saw a stat at one point that Yari had won 8 of his 9 duels in the first half, which, like, he's a really good young player, but he's about 5'7", 5'8", and he's physically dominating our midfield. And that's concerning to me. Hinchelwood was having things far too easy. We weren't pressuring him. Our press was all over the place. Now, they're a very tough team to press anyway, because they've got so many players that are comfortable on the ball. But we just couldn't press them in any successful manner. And frankly, when they got their goal, they fully deserved their goal.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
They absolutely did. They absolutely did. And more coming to you for the goal. They just work it down the left quite well, to be fair to them. And Tsimikas is kind of left marking too, but he's marking. I think it's Ruta that is actually marking, and Kadioglu just kind of walked into space. It's a hell of a finish, no taking away from that. And I'd probably say it's more so the midfield not tracking Kadioglu, or maybe Gakpo's job more so, but Tsimikas can't really get out to mark him because he's had to shift central to cover the two centre-backs. It's a really sloppy goal from us, and we'll probably come on to Trent around half-time because he had, let's say, a mixed game, a very mixed game, but the Mitoma was kind of just running the game at that point for me.
Yeah. I mean, it was really good finish, well deserved as well. They started clearly the stronger on the front foot, with the majority of the play up until that point. I thought the goal itself was not really down to any, Cy Brundage should say, egregious mistake as such. It was more just down to some exceptional play by Brighton. I thought that Keller could have done perhaps a bit more. He did get a hand to the ball. I think the pace on the finish was so strong that it'd be very harsh to blame him as such. But it was just a really well taken finish. I thought it was well deserved and not unexpected as well. Liverpool, even under Slot, have generally been starting a bit too slow in many games, and Brighton with the start that they had, they deserved it 1-0 up.
Yeah, and as you say, they do fully deserve it. And telling is my next note is this is shit. So yeah, I think that's how the game was going. after the first 15 minutes. And as I say that, my next actual note, because I think I was kind of pissed off at this stage, is the 25th minute. And more, that's when we have some decent actual football by us. It's Gakpo and Szoboszlai combining, gets Trent involved, and Trent just overhits it to Mo, who tries to ram the goalkeeper. That would have been like some FIFA-esque stuff if he could have actually pulled that off. Then a minute later, literally after that chance, Kelleher keeps us in the game when Ayari sends through Ruter, I think it is, if I'm correct, and Kelleher saves a 1v1. Then we get a corner. Ibu nearly scores. It's just chaotic in the box. And yeah, that's probably the next 10, 15 minutes or so there more. We started to at least do a couple bits on the ball, but again, it all felt a bit chaotic at times, and Brighton were probably the more dangerous side, as I mentioned with that Yari chance.
Yeah, I mean the pass through to Ruta. I mean, one-on-one with Keller, and very, very good stop to keep us in the game, because had we gone 2-0 down, would have really doubted that we'd get anything more than a draw out of it at that point. The pass was Thiago Esto, exceptional.
Oh, yeah.
It's very rare to see Van Dijk outdone in that way, but the pace on it and the swerve, the control, it was absolutely spot on. And we were really outdone there. And again, it was just being exposed in the centre of the park. I thought that Ayari had just an exceptional game in the middle of the park, on the ball, off the ball. It allowed so little space for McAllister in particular. I mean, McAllister had perhaps his worst game in quite some time. Really struggled, and that was disappointing, because for a lot of our games, in this first 2-3 months of the season, he's often performed very consistently. So that was disappointing to see. But that was again more down to the hard graft in the middle of the park. Brighton, I think they set up really well, and knew what to expect from our side, and that was good. But nonetheless, I think we did really well to come back into it as a half wore on, and started fashioning some chances, which Dave will talk about in just a moment with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we come on to those chances, Dave, I mean, you mentioned Yari when we went through the starting 11 there. It's a player, I think they signed him last summer, if I'm correct in thinking that, or maybe 2 summers ago, actually. And we know Brighton's process is being patient with young players. I don't think many people were kind of expecting him to come in, considering the bought O'Reilly and Vifa in the summer, but he certainly looked a talent. I mean, thinking as a Liverpool fans, obviously, is it someone we should be keeping an eye on? Because he does look like a hell of a talent. I mean, the way they play around our press, and that one pass in particular that we were just talking about, it did look Thiago West.
General rule of thumb is if Brighton sign a player and they're under the age of 23, we should be keeping an eye on them, because the profile they're looking for is very, very similar to the profiles that we want. And I said this on the Daily Red yesterday, like, the idealized version of Michael Edwards' Liverpool project is Brighton on steroids, where we're going and signing these young players. And they signed him in January of 2023. Wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was January.
The 22-23 season. They had him in their kind of, in their squad, in their group for about 6 months, training, learning, developing. And then they loaned him out last year, and he went to Coventry for the first half of the season and didn't go very well. They brought him in to replace Gus Hammer, and it just didn't really suit him. And he went to Blackburn in the second half of the season. He did very well there. He was expected to go on loan again this season. And like you said, Brighton bring in O'Reilly, they bring in Vifer, they've got Baliba, they've got Hinchelwood, they've got Jakob Moder. So he wasn't expected to feature. He was expected to go on loan. And then he did really well in pre-season, and then O'Reilly got hurt. And that just sort of opened the opportunity for him. And he has been really good this season. Like, really, really good. And he's played in a multitude of positions. We've seen him in the double pivot. We've seen him as a 10. We've seen him play off the left this season. And while he's not as comfortable off the left, you can still see that he's a really good player. And then we see him today in his natural position. And he was arguably the best player on the pitch for an hour. Probably, don't even think it was arguable. I think he was the best player on the pitch for an hour. And it's that ability on and off the ball. Like, he's not just a one-way player. He's really strong, really physical, really aggressive. But then when he gets the ball, like you said, there's a little shade of Thiago about the body shape, the weight of pass, the angle of the ball. I'm so impressed. And like, I keep hammering this point. People need to realise that Brighton are not just a club that we can look at anymore and think, well, you know, they're going to be in the bottom half and they might stay up, but they might go down. This is a really good team, a brilliantly run club, loaded with talent, 2 and 3 really good options pretty much everywhere. And if you were projecting out over the next 5 years, if they could keep everyone they want to keep and just trim away some of the older, you know, players when they hit a certain point that they can maximize value, Brighton could easily become a top 4 team in the next 5 years. There's, like, just look at the number 9 position with Ferguson, João Pedro, Ruder can play there, Enciso can play there, and obviously Welbeck. Now, Welbeck is the one who's, you know, 30-odd. He'll move on at some point in the next 2 years, but the rest are all 23 and below. You look at the midfield, Wiefer, O'Reilly, Baliba, Ayari, Hinchelwood, and a Yalkoi that they have out on loan this season with Sturm Graz. That's a group of midfielders that are all 24, 25 and younger, throwing Jakob Moder as well. There's so much room for growth and potential with them. They're just so talent-rich. And it will be amusing to me if this kid, who I saw play for AIK and thought he looks like he's going to be really good, and then he sort of dropped off the radar a little bit, and then Brighton snapped him up. And I remember tweeting, this is another really clever move by Brighton. I think they paid $5 million for him. And then he went on loan to Coventry, and people were bringing back up that tweet and said, oh, he's not doing very well now, is he? Well, yeah, he is. He's doing really well. And he's another example of why you always put your faith in the Brighton scouting machine, because it's the best in the world. And it's absolutely something we should be looking to replicate. And yeah, any player they sign who's under the age of 23 is someone we should be keeping a close eye on, because chances are Brighton have gotten it right, and we're going to want that player within 2 years.
Yeah, there's probably a few on there, to be fair. We could have the same conversation about, but that's for another time and another podcast. I'll stick with you, Dave, just to run through the end of the first half. Cadiago gets another chance. Trent's kind of just getting battered this time by Matoma. Danny Welbeck nearly scores a free kick. I know he scored his first this season, but still a random sentence. Brighton get another free kick when I think it's Trent who gives the ball away, and then McAllister has to concede the foul and gets his yellow card, which probably leads to his substitution later on, and he wasn't playing well, to be fair. And just to kind of end the half even better, Dave, Ibu's buggered something in his arm. It's shoulder, hand. I'm not sure if it's him falling awkwardly or if it's Van Dijk standing on it. I'd kind of hope it's just a buggered finger rather than a shoulder, but they did make his shirt into a sling, didn't they? So, yeah, Dave, just the end of the half there, I mean, it looked like nightmare fuel, to be fair.
Yeah, it did. I mean, look, Trent had an absolutely abysmal first half. On the ball, he was shocking, and frankly, he wasn't much better on the ball second half, but the defensive side was so poor. And look, I've been praising him all season for the defensive effort, because it's been really good and really refreshing to see, especially after the last 2 seasons. And today was kind of all the issues with Trent that we'd seen defensively the last 2 years. The lack of effort, not focused, not switched on, poor body position, poor posture. Mitoma roasted him that first half. Like, it was easy for Mitoma. He was just cruising at him, knocking it by him, ghosting round him, and Trent wasn't putting in the effort to get back, and Ibu was having to do a lot of work to cover across. Didn't help that Gravenberch was having such a poor half as well, and Ibu was having to sweep up everything on that side. And then obviously Ibu gets hurt, and you're just thinking, oh, this is not going to be good, because that guy's been so huge for us this season. Like, a really colossal performance every single week. And he gets hurt, and like you, I couldn't make out what he actually did to himself. Though, before they put his arm made his shirt into a sling, he was holding his hand. So I'm hoping it's just that Virgil stood on his hand, and the worst case scenario, maybe there's a cracked bone or something in there, or a dislocation or something that's, something that's not serious and is only going to keep him out for a few weeks rather than months, because a shoulder injury will be catastrophic for us. But credit to Joe Gomez. I mean, he comes on at half-time, puts in a brilliant performance. With the way Trent was playing and the way Ibu was playing, to lose Ibu, you were really looking at the second half thinking, like, this game is going to go away from us, and it's going to go away from us quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. Mo, I'll come to you, and we'll stick with Trent, because we'll probably mention him quite often during the second half, but I think it's an interesting general discussion. Like, I'd agree with Dave that I thought he was abysmal on the ball basically all the game. I think he tried to hero ball it a few times, but keeping it simple just didn't seem to work either. But in terms of defensively, yeah, first half he got battered. He had some good duels with Mitoma there in the first half, but Mitoma definitely had the majority of it. He was better than him. But the second half, you saw the attitude in all the TING change, but I think we definitely saw probably the biggest attitude change with Trent, because he was so much more aggressive. He was so much more aware where Mitoma was at all times, considering he had to play a bit more centrally in the second half too. I don't know if it just woke him up or Slot bollocked him or something at half time, but the turnaround in Trent at that half time and with the rest of the team, it's becoming something of like almost a party trick by Slot, because we have seen these slow first halves. This is probably the best example of it, but the turnaround in Trent in the second half, I think that's just excellent management and excellent by Trent himself.
Yeah. I suspect that there was an element of the halftime team talk that was reserved specifically for Trent. As Dave said, a lot of what he did in the first half left a lot to be desired, and really couldn't get much worse in the second half. He was still trying, the Hollywood passes in the second half as well. But I think defensively, he certainly looked a bit more solid against Mitoma. Kept him a lot quieter in the second half than he did in the first. And some of his on-ball play as well certainly improved. And there was a bit more by way of aggression. He would turn into the main stand and trying to rally the fans. And, that was good to see that there is a bit of passion there, that he still cares. A lot of speculation, obviously, rumbling on and will do until we hear one way or another whether he's staying or going. I dare say that if the decision is that he's moving on, the usual suspects will come out with their hit pieces, to try and slay his name. I'm not going to be one of them. I will back whatever his decision is, whether he stays or whether he goes. I think he's, delivered exceptionally well for us over the years. In the last couple of years, sometimes his form has been up and down, but the kind of great moments that we've benefited from, courtesy of Trent, we can't forget those. He's been an exceptional servant for us, and obviously, like most Reds, I'll be hoping that he stays around for many more years to come. But if he's made his mind up that actually he fancies a change and he's off to Real Madrid, then all the best to him. And Now, in some ways, it may not be the worst thing because, like I said on this show in the past, he is a player that started very, very young. And like we've seen with many players for Liverpool over the years who start as teenagers, by the time they hit this age, around 26, heading into 27, we've often seen their best years. And they tend to trail, down that slippery slope, and their peak has passed. And that's not to say that Trent has passed his peak, far from it, but it's just that historical thing. You think of your Robbie Fowlers, your Michael Owens, one or two others. They typically have peaked out in their mid-20s. And Bradley is, obviously not Trent levels when it comes to on ball, but I think defensively he might arguably be that slight bit better. And even on ball as well, I think he grafts really hard. And, whether it's Bradley or somebody else being brought in, I wouldn't be overly worried if Trent moves on. Some fans might act like it's the end of the world. But we've seen better players than Trent move on, and we've survived perfectly fine. So I'll be okay with whatever the outcome is.
I'll be fuming.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.